We have another guest in the studio, Yushau Shuaib, a publisher and public relations practitioner. He's going to be talking to us about managing public perception and behavioral change. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, well, by way of introduction, ignoring public perception in policy formulation or implementation can be catastrophic. Opinion once formed is difficult to change, and this explains why government use incentives to effect behavioral change. Public relation practitioners deal essentially with managing and disseminating information for government or individuals to change perceptions. Now, our guest in the studio will be talking to us, about how to manage public perception. Let's begin by looking at the trust between leaders and the led in our context, which is, of course, Nigeria. That is something that many experts have hammered on. The fact that government struggles to pass across information, and even when they pass across the information, the believability isn't really there, because many people feel like, well, government is just propaganda. They don't mean what they are saying. So let's start by saying, is Nigerian government having the best of public perception as it is right now?
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. When we talk about public perception, we're talking about how the public are persuaded to believe on a particular issue. In public relation, especially when it comes to critical management, we have three issues to look at. We look at the issue of crisis management, which is different from issue management, and also reputation management. But of all this, the facts remain that everything should boil down to reputation management. And reputation management about the perception, the positive perception about not only even the government in totality, even the embodiment of that government, maybe the principal officer, the minister, and so on and so forth. The facts remain that the government provide the accurate, responsible, and timely information when it really matters. That's what we'll have to ask ourselves. And sometimes, something are happening in reality. Government is doing very, very well in some sectors. But the fact is, do they have the competent, qualified, experienced communicators to send the message? And how reliable are the channel of that communication, or even the kind of information they send? Well, that's why we in publicly only empathize on the fact that most of the image makers or the spokesperson of the system are not acquainted, having the necessary skill to send the information. So the issue of the perception we're having, in fact, by the time you sit down, when you talk about in PR Nigeria, we used to do what we call media audit for organization. And on media audit we try to look at it basically on three steps. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or it's in between, whether negative, positive, that is fair. And then mark you, most of the time, when you look at the government, the kind of information they send, they tend to make it look, even though it's supposed to be positive, they only look at an aspect that is what, either fair or negative. So what are we talking about? What we're talking about is that, yes, no matter what you do, you have to ensure that you have capable hand to ensure that that information is sent appropriately and responsibly. So in public relations, basically what we always talk about PR, we're looking at it from the perspective of establishing mutual and beneficial relation with the public. And definitely you can't achieve that one without what? Without the channel. That is mostly, but some people when you talk about public relations, they look at it more for the narrow perspective, the narrow component of media relation, that is the media. But more than that, that was sometimes, even in reputation, that, like when I was coming here, the issue of this Anambra election, for instance, look at the result, look what is coming out. But when you look at it, you talk about the success of the turnout of the election, you see where some PR people, those who know the importance of public communication, play some role behind the scene. What I'm trying to say here is that in public relations is just the media hype, media relation component, where you just spend millions, make some hype, all these things. Golden silence can also be very, very effective. And guess one thing? even some behind-the-scenes strategy, we call them strategic communication, where you meet the real stakeholder, talking to them behind the scenes, because that is the essence of public relation, establishing and sustaining mutual relationship.
Well, you know, some people, to a layman, some will say, well, public relations looks like advertisement to them. Does it have that element?
Thank you very much. In fact, that is, I'm very proud to be a PR practitioner. There's nothing wrong in taking the element of advertisement. But PR people, we don't look at advertisement value. We would rather take advertorial value, because between advertisement and editorial, there are differences.
Okay.
The PR people, we believe, for instance, this is what I'm talking about. For instance, we know even the house media is saturated now. Let's take Daily Trust, for instance. 46 pages, maximum maybe 60, where there's a lot of advert. But the fact is that you will see that you send a story and you believe if I'm a PR person, for instance, and then I want a story in Daily Trust, and I know that story is worthy, and when you send the story, what happened to the editor? They look at how many stories they have, how many elements of newsworthiness they have, and you realize that they believe strongly that story is newsworthy, but they don't have space for it. So what you are doing at that level, that communication, you are not doing the advertisement. You are doing the advertorial, because the company of advert and editorial, because you believe that information needs to go. Then you now use advertisements complement. That's why they call it advertorial. In essence, what I'm trying to say is that not every time when you send a story that they have a discussion time of looking for the element of newsworthiness. But the fact still remains that not every information you send they will use. But when you find as a PR person very essential that information has to go, then you have to use that components. But between PR and public, there's a lot of gap. And guess one thing? Many people, many readers, even viewers, believe in the believability and trustworthiness of information that goes out as news than advert. Because how many people actually read advert?
All right. Now, how would you say that, bad public perception affects implementation of policies, say, for instance, by government?
Come again?
How does, bad public perception affect the implementation of policies by government, for instance?
Yes, that is if it's not well managed. Because, like I keep on saying, the challenge where we have to define the fact that there are different rules between what media does and what PR people do. And when you look at that from that part, you know that definitely when we talk about PR, we look at it from the fact that we want what I normally call the C, the 4C. For every PR person and every organization, when they want to deal with the media, they only want to have the coverage. They want to have fair coverage. Coverage. They want to cover their activities, how reliable it is. They want fair coverage. Similarly, they also want what? To some extent, to avoid misquotation, they want to have control on the contents. You get it? They want to have control. And they also want to have the contact and these chances. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that you'll see sometimes the PR people, because we can see how media, out of the fact that they want to make their story newsworthy, they will now try to twist the headline and give it different meaning to the readers. That's why we talk about PR people working on control. Even though as much as the media will not like all this press release, they like to go and cover assignment. But why do you want to have challenges the media, the many institutions are facing? It's from mischief of some, I don't want to say media, how they twist some stories. So the PR people only want to have the control. But we won't deny the fact that the media also require this 4 element of what I call I. Most of the time, what they want actually, they want the PR people, the information manager, the public institution to provide them with information, something that is fresh, that is new.
Okay, now we've seen the emergence of digital platforms, the use of social media, websites, and, the YouTube and the rest of them. How would you say that we are deploying these technologies in public relations in Nigeria, and how important it is, really?
It's very important, because someone said what I faced lately is the issue of fake news. And the fake news today, journalism today is not like before. Especially now when we are talking about stream journalism, anybody can wake up today and say, what? I'm a publisher. What does it cost? Social media. The advantage of social media, are many, just at a disadvantage. And when we talk about social media, we're talking about what? The affordability. With 1,000 naira can get the website. The affordability, trackable 24/7. You understand? And then it's participatory, unlike other. Now the fact still remains that social media, whether we like it or not, it has come to stay. The challenge we're having with communication is that some communicators still believe in the traditional way of doing things. Unlike before, we keep on saying this, that PR people, your job today is not the job of the past, why you said, I'll go to the office 8 o'clock and leave 5 o'clock. With social media, 12 midnight, you'll be called by media to respond. So the issue is that the PR practitioners have to know the value of social media. And guess one thing, whether we like it or not, those PR people that know the value of media, they are having their own media. They are creating their niche. In fact, in the next, if you are not careful, some of like Trust and other media, you'll find it, you'll be competing with other PR unit of organization. Because if you, for instance, an editor, you have maybe in your Facebook page, you have 1 million followers, and then one organization, they promote it, they have premium, as they have 5 million followers. Do I need to come to you? And you know, with social media now, well, we're not taking, we don't want to take over the job of media, but the fact is that today, because of social media, PR people who know their own, who know their right, they know that they can have their own media, have control on their content, and guess one thing, the media will come to their website and pick their story. And we have seen these days that the time you call a PR and say, please just go to our website, or go and check our tweet. So that's a challenge. It's doing very well, but the fact is that social media is challenging. We're having the issue of fake news, hate speech, because that platform is not like other media, because it's unregulated. All the Nigerian Press Council that regulate Press Council, regulate print media, and the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission broadcast media. But what happened to social media? Everybody's just there. It's unregulated. We have charlatans that everybody's claiming is a publisher, and then you can see that if the content are amateurish, and you see a lot of content that are anonymous, no face. In the return other media, you know that it's difficult for somebody to just send an article with identity or story. Right. But online, you see that this is not happening. But in between this, because the PR practitioner, PR people will come to realize that, look, it's either we go to the media or if the media will not control how they assess their story from the social media, then let us have our own. And some of them are doing very well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on Daybreak today. Because of time, we'll have to wrap up the discussion. Yushau Shuaib is a publisher and public relations practitioner.